Ever wonder how you could possibly use algebra in your everyday life? Imagine this scenario. You're planning a weekend trip and you have a certain budget. You have to account for the cost of gas, meals, and perhaps a souvenir or two. How do you ensure you don't overspend? Well, this is where algebraic expressions come into play. In the broadest sense, an algebraic expression represents a mathematical relationship or rule. It's a collection of numbers, variables, and operation symbols. Think of it as a recipe, combining different ingredients to create a delicious dish. This recipe, however, helps us solve problems and understand the world around us. Let's start by understanding the basic components of an algebraic expression. There are three main ingredients: constants, variables, and operators. Constants are fixed numbers that don't change, like the number of hours in a day or the cost of a cup of coffee. Variables, on the other hand, are symbols that represent unknown or changing quantities, like the number of cups of coffee you drink in a week. Finally, operators are the actions performed on constants and variables, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, how do we combine these ingredients to form an algebraic expression? It's like baking a cake. First, identify the variables or the things that can change. In the case of our weekend trip, the variables could be the number of meals or the number of souvenirs. Next, determine the constants. These could be the fixed costs, like the cost of gas or the price of a meal. Then decide on the operations. Are you adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing these quantities? In our example, you'll probably be adding the costs together to ensure you stay within budget. Finally, assemble your expression. For our weekend trip, it might look something like this: the cost of gas plus the product of the number of meals and the price per meal, plus the product of the number of souvenirs and the price per souvenir. And there you have it, an algebraic expression that represents your weekend spending. To recap, forming algebraic expressions involves identifying variables and constants, determining the operations, and assembling everything together. It's a simple process, much like following a recipe. And just like a recipe, the more you practice, the better you get. So, the next time you're planning a trip or trying to figure out how much you're spending on coffee each week, remember algebraic expressions. They might just be the secret ingredient to solving your everyday problems.